So this weekend we're out in the Dragoon Mountains of southern Arizona, and Arizona is known for a lot of crazy stuff like the Superstition Mountains, the legend of the lost Dutchman. His mine and his gold is supposedly hidden somewhere out in the hills. But this weekend we are camping in an area known as the Cochise Stronghold, and this place is very famous because it is supposedly the secret burial place of the legendary Chiricahua Apache Native American chief by the name of Cochise. And according to legend, he is buried somewhere out here secretly. Is this it?
Right, and as the sun starts to go down, it might start to get a little creepy because we're camping here tonight and it's winter, it's cold, and it's supposedly haunted.
So one of the cool things about the southwest part of the country is that, I mean, it really does have year-round weather. I mean, it is kind of cold. It's going to get down to the 30s tonight, but you can come out and do stuff like this almost year-round down here. The other cool thing is the history here. Most people don't know, but I mean, this area, because of the climate and stuff like that, so archaeologists know that, you know, people lived in this area, the Clovis people, as far back as 15,000 BC. So really, there's a debate whether people came here after the last ice age, or whether the people were down in Mexico where it was warmer. They were already here for the whole ice age, and then once it started to melt, they moved forward. But I mean, you've got history and civilizations here that go back a long way, that, you know, predates written history like Mesopotamia. So it's a really cool area, not only for the Native American piece, but just, you know, there's mammoth kill sites here. There's you know, petroglyphs from the Clovis people. There's just a lot of cool things to see here.
This rugged terrain for some 15 years was the home and the base of operations for the Chiricahua Apache Chief Cochise.
Yeah, so Cochise and about 1,000 of his followers lived in this area, hid out from the U.S. military. About 250 of those were considered warriors. So to kind of tell you the story, so Cochise, his father was named, do you remember what it was? Mangas Coloradas.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what it is. I may be wrong. I may be saying it wrong, but it's something.
No, it's something Coloradas.
Yeah, it's close to that. But probably it's funny because out of all the Apache chiefs, I think, you know, as Anglo-Americans, white people, whatever you want to say it, we probably know Geronimo because Geronimo gave the white people the most trouble. But when you look at probably the most prolific chief of the Apache people, that was probably Cochise's dad. So he actually was he signed he did a lot of peace treaties with other Apache tribes and nations here. He did a lot of peace treaties with the Anglo-Americans, the white people here. Really was just a really diplomatic and a leader on many levels. So he did a lot of great stuff. Well, what happened that kicked off basically the war with the Apaches is that there was a young man kidnapped. I can't remember his real name, but they ended up calling him Mickey Free at one point. But this young boy was kidnapped not by the Chiricahua, but by a different set of Apache Native Americans. And so Cochise went to meet with the U.S. military and kind of try to clear his name and say, like, hey, this, you know, we didn't take this kid. Well, when he went in and tried to meet with the army, they ended up arresting him and his warriors and went with him. Well, he quickly escaped and got out of there and was kind of upset that, you know, he went there to try to, you know, basically settle his name and to you know, be honest with the military, and they just treated him like a criminal and threw him in jail. So he ended up going on the run, and then they ended up, the soldiers, the U.S. Army ended up killing his father, and that's what really pushed him over the edge to where, you know, he really then started fighting back against the United States and the U.S. Army at the time. He was really, it was very peaceful with the Anglo-Americans that were taking over his land up until that point. But once, you know, once we basically, the white people killed his father, that was it was game on at that point. Cochise actually died peacefully on the Chiricahua Reservation, not too far from here. But when he died, his followers basically took his body, they brought his body up here, and they buried him in the stronghold. Nobody knows exactly where he's buried, only his followers knew. And there was one white man, the guy named Thomas Jeffords, who basically brokered the peace deal with Cochise, that was said to know where his body was at, but nobody else knows where his body. So Cochise is buried somewhere up here in the stronghold. Nobody knows. Nobody's, to my knowledge, has ever found it, but he is buried here. And then the ghost story legends that you hear in this area. So there's two different ghosts that people have claimed to see. whether you believe in ghosts or not. But the one is of a Chiricahua Apache warrior, a young man with long dark hair wearing Native American garb. Is said people have seen him walking in the trails, walking up in some of the canyons. And then one person said that he actually walked through his tent. If you believe that stuff, that's I'll let you decide that. The other thing that people say they hear all the time is the Native American flute, a man playing a Native American flute in this area. That's heard a lot as well. And then I've also heard one story where it was a young girl who basically it was like a little girl. There were some rock climbers. This area is very known for rock climbing as well. And this little girl called out to some of the rock climbers, trying to get them to come down. And they noticed something strange about her. They said her eyes were black, and that she just did not look normal. And then they saw behind her down in the trees, it looked like a figure that was like hiding behind the trees. So the climbers basically, said, okay, that's not somebody normal. That's not something natural. They basically told it to get out of there. But so those are the three ghost stories, the three ghosts that are said to be found in these areas. And on top of that, then you've got mountain lion and bear and all that other stuff up here. But we got the fire going. We're drinking some wine. So
Now you got me all freaked out.
you never know. We're probably going to turn in for the night, but if we see any ghosts, we'll turn the camera on and let you know.
That sounded like a dark, unnatural thing with black eyes. I don't know about that. We'll say our prayers tonight.
And I heard it doesn't like girls with white hats. That's
Lance.
that have been eating chili mac. So
It's good. I don't know why you didn't finish this. Now we just need coffee.
So it's about 24 degrees outside. It's the next morning now. We're all pretty freezing, trying to wake up, trying to get warm. But no ghosts, no flute playing going on last night. So it's pretty much just, cold night up in the mountains sleeping.
Lance is rock climbing.
So it's the next morning. No ghosts or goblins last night that I know of. I don't know.
No, just a little nightmare, but sure.
So it was a cold night. I think it got down. It said the temperature dropped down. It felt like 23. So 23 degrees. I think the biggest thing, we were worried about Scooby because Scooby was probably the coldest. I think we were fine. It was just Scooby got pretty cold last night. So we explored this area where we're at, the Cochise Stronghold. It's crazy because there's a lot of boulders here, a lot of granite boulders, a lot of cracks and crevices, a lot of little caves. I was up, climbing around on top of some of these boulders, and I tell you what, everything looks like a mountain lion den when you get in there and you look at stuff. And our family doesn't have the best of luck, or we do have the best of luck with mountain lions, if you want to say it that way. We've had 3 mountain lion encounters. With some people never see one their whole lives. We've had 3 encounters. So that was one thing I was always, when I'm climbing around on stuff, I'm always thinking, all right, am I going to come face to face with a mountain lion? I got to be careful. So yeah, we looked around on all these boulders. I'll tell you, we did not find Cochise's burial spot. Even if we did, that's just something to desecrate that, or to to show that on video or something. I think it's just disrespectful. We wouldn't do that in the first place, even if we did find it. But it's an interesting hike out here. This area is really beautiful. I would say if you're a rock climber, I mean, there's so many granite boulders around here. You could rock climb, you could rappel. Really good time. I mean, I would do that. I would consider coming back out here, doing some rock climbing and rappelling, because it is really great, and it's really great too. The footholds are great. The grip is great on all of these. I was just doing it, free climbing, hoping I wasn't going to fall off some of these. I know I made Jenny's blood pressure go up a little bit. But
so places like this, when there's a history and a really cool story behind it, I think it would be great if you have kids to engage the kids. That's the best way to teach kids history. I know that our son and our daughter learned the most history from hands-on experiences like this, and going to the places and hiking the trails and talking about it, and just seeing the places, in history and behind the story. So that is, if you have little kids or middle-aged kids or even high school kids, and they're just sitting around a lot, you don't know how to get them off the video games, away from the TV. I know some of our best memories with the kids were out in nature like this, and something like this, you can make it educational, and a kind of educational that will stick. They'll probably remember. And
I think it's got that cool story. So it is. I mean, this is the secret burial place of Cochise. And you've got the whole, ghost story, folklore, supernatural thing that if you've got, maybe not the little kids, you don't want to tell them about that, but some of the older kids, maybe, if you got middle school, high school kids, that would definitely, I think, get them intrigued and want them to come and check this out, or at least make it more like an adventure, coming out to check out places like this.